Welcome to Tuesday's Leadership. Always delighted to have you listen in. When I began in ministry in Thunder Bay over 4 decades ago, I was in charge of Christian education. I was in charge of the bus ministry. I preached almost every single weekend, and I was the youth pastor. Christian education went fairly well. There were, back in the days when they used to put it in the testimony, our Sunday school was often among the fastest growing Sunday school, and the age, not the age range, the number range our church was in. The preaching was reasonably good for a green guy, and our bus ministry was flourishing. But youth ministry wasn't doing so well. One week, one of the dads of the teenagers came up to me and said, can we take you out, my friend and I, for breakfast on Saturday morning? They drove me a little ways out of Thunder Bay to one of the fanciest restaurants in the area, and I ordered a big, huge breakfast. It was more than I was used to having for breakfast at that time in my life, and we chatted and we talked a bit, and then they got down to the reason for the meeting, and they asked this question: Pastor John, how can anybody so smart be such a stupid youth leader? For some reason, 4 decades later, I still remember the question. How can anybody so smart, that felt good, be such a stupid youth leader? That didn't feel so good. And I knew when they asked the question, I had 2 options. I could get defensive, or I could say, okay, Lord, help me to learn here. And I decided to take the posture that Moses took in, is it Numbers 12, Numbers 13, when Miriam and Aaron came and attacked him because he thought he was a somebody. Verse 3 says Moses was the humblest, meekest guy around. I decided to take a posture of humility and see what I could learn. And I asked back, how could I be a better youth pastor? We had a good open dialogue for about an hour. When it was all done, I said to them, I'm going to work real hard at making these things happen, but it's going to cost money. And they said, leave that part to us, Pastor. We'll raise the money. And they raised the money from all the parents of the teenagers of the church. And suddenly our youth ministry began to take off. It's the power of listening. Good leaders learn how to listen. And we got to be careful who we listen to, too. In solo pastorates, when you're the only person on staff, sometimes the only person we listen to is our spouse. And that can become a pretty narrow perspective. Often in staff situations, the only people we listen to are the staff. The people who are in the walls, working in the walls. We think we've got everything figured out, but all we know is the walls. People who listen well are listening to the people they serve, listening to the people who are in the pews, listening to the parents of the teenagers, listening to the people who rub shoulders day after day after day at job sites with people who are yet outside of Christ. The power of listening. Let's cultivate it as leaders. It's a powerful tool in the toolbox. Father, help us. Help us to listen well. In Jesus' name. See you next Tuesday.